Welcome to episode 51 of the Sales Syndicate podcast. So unfortunately you guys are not 52, which would have been our 1 year anniversary, but episode 51. And I have to start with an apology because I think on our last call we said you would be our first duo that we had on the podcast. But we have since had another duo that the episode has already gone out, so you're not popping our duo cherry, let's say, in terms of the podcast. So I've got that apology out of the way, but we're going to be talking about the power or the importance of relationships in sales, but more from like a team perspective. And I met the pair that have joined me today at a conference in Amsterdam. So I will hand over to Art and Sherien to introduce themselves before we talk about the power of relationships in terms of like sales teams. So this ladies first. Let's start with Sherien.
Just putting me on the spot right there. So my name is Sherien. I'm based in the Netherlands. I'm an account executive working on the Middle East, really trying to sell and really not really sell, but build that relationship with my customers and help them excel and grow to that next level. And I report to Art.
That's a nice segue into Art. So over to you, Art.
Hi, dear listeners. Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having us. My name is Art. I'm leading the EMEA sales team. I would say even the Revenue Rangers team. I call them sometimes like that. And we're working for a cloud computing company. And Sherien, I'm super happy, excited that you joined today's call with me. So I'm pretty sure that we will enjoy today's conversation, and we're super excited to be here.
And I think bit of background, we like I said, we met at a trade show in Amsterdam where I originally went up to Art to ask if he would record a 30-second clip, and he, as all great sales managers do, he handed it off, and he said, I think Sherien to my right would be great at this. She'd really enjoy this. It'd be a great development opportunity for her. And she was the only person at the show to ask for payment in some way, shape or form for the recording, which ended up being a frozen cappuccino from the event, which were very, very good. So fair play to for Sherien for getting something out of me. No one else at the show asked, and obviously they didn't get. So hopefully the frozen cappuccino was nice, and I think the recording was very, very good as well, even though we had to come back and do it a second time because the audio didn't work. But I appreciate you doing the clip anyway.
Well, it was fun. I really enjoyed seeing you guys twice at the event and getting my free coffee. It was really nice.
You didn't think I was going to follow through and get you the coffee, did you?
I did not. I really thought you were just going to.
Yeah.
We stayed true to our word, and I was with our head of finance, so I had his card to pay for it. So if it was my money, it would have been a different story altogether. I would have ran with the clip and not given you a coffee, but finance paid for it, which is good. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about like the power of relationships, or the value, the importance of relationships in sales teams. As you guys have said, you head up the team that sort of Sherien you work in, so it's a good dynamic, I think, having both of you on, so that you can hopefully sort of go back and forth and interact, maybe give differing points of views. Or differing stories on the topics that we're going to be speaking about. But I guess before we go into the chunky bit of the discussion, I guess for each of you, like when we're talking about like the importance or the value of those relationships in sales, what does that mean to each of you? Like why is it important?
I can go first, Sherien.
Yeah, let's take it in turns. Let's go Art first this time.
All right. So I think the first thing that comes to my mind, given the format and the title of current meeting, I think it's a perfect illustration of what we represent as a strong team, right? So we're both today on this podcast, and we both gonna speak on that exciting topic. So this is the first part. But speaking seriously, well, in sales, relationships are everything. And while external relationships with the clients and prospects are often emphasized, internal relationships within the sales teams or organizations are just as crucial. And a team that, in my understanding, to my take, a strong team is that team that is cohesive, supportive, open, founded on trust and mutual respect, because this type of team is more likely to succeed in the long run. And this is exactly what our team demonstrates on a quarterly basis. This is how I explain this terminal, this word.
Right. And Sherien?
I do agree with Art, and then for me, like why relationship is so important because you spend a big chunk of your day working with people, connecting with people, and building a foundation or relationship kind of creates trust, and it sets the right attitude and the right expectations, and it kind of drives people and it motivates you. And if you've got that foundation, the relationship can only grow, and not only will you be more successful, but it also gives you peace of mind. Like it gives you a peace of mind. It's good for your mental health. It's good for like your stability and your communication. I mean, if our relationship wasn't great at the next web, would we have had a second take? You know, it's all about how you communicate with people. It's all about the energy you bring and the energy you give, but also what you get. So that's where I really see why relationships are important.
No, that's a very good example. Like you said, if we weren't perhaps as I don't know, warm and forthcoming, as polite as we were the first time around, you might not have said yes the second time around. So I think, in the same way that a relationship is important with your partner, with your family, with your, with someone that you're buying something from, it's just as important in sales. And I think sales as a function is extremely stressful. There's a lot of ups and downs, so you probably lean on each other more than you might do it in other professions. But you spoke about like building connections and rapport. So how have you guys gone about improving those connections within the team, or like building rapport? How do you do that?
Then I go first. Okay. Because I have a perfect example, and I don't know if Art was going to say that, but so when we got introduced to have Art as our manager, one of the things, and I will never forget that, is Art is somebody that really takes his time to know more about his team. So when he was presenting himself as our new manager, he took his time. He researched every single one of us, what we studied, why he found that interesting. Um, highlighted everybody's like not per, not per se the qualities, but what our interests are, what our background is, why we studied what we studied, and he was really curious. And by such a small action, by really showing your team that you care, he already started building that rapport, or opening the door to a strong foundation, not only with myself, but with the team as well. I started to trust him. I was intrigued. I was like, oh, he's a manager that actually cares. And that small like incentive that he did already opened like a really big door into that trusting relationship that we have today. I just had to mention that.
It's an interesting one, because I think you've invested time in making sure that you know enough about that person before they start, or when they start, that you're not just walking in a room and have no idea who's joined your team and stuff. And I think it's, putting in effort at that early stage shows what the rest of the relationship is going to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also part of the sales culture, if you will, because for all sales meetings, we need to prepare. We need to understand who are our customers. And I always say that words to my team, that my team is my main customer. And I say it to upper management as well. And yeah, I did that research. It's just really good opening to not just to talk about me, but just to say this meeting, the first meeting that we had, it's more about you, right? Let's start with you. Let me show that I did really research, and that also builds a certain trust with the team in the first stage, right? The second part is just also how building report is also to set up the right expectations for the team, so that I know what I can expect from them. At the same time, they know what they can expect from me, and so that they feel that I kind of predictable manager, so that there will be no surprises, no alarms, and no surprises. and they feel really in a safe environment afterwards. That's my approach that I apply the second time, because it's the second time when I stepped into the role. I used to
Do
have.
you, as part of that first introduction, obviously you've done your research, do you share similar information about yourself during that initial sort of session or that first few weeks?
Of course, I provided a summary of myself, and just gave some insights on who am I, what is my degree, what are my interests as well, what is my hobby. I told everyone that I'm armchair sommelier, so called, right? Just to break the ice. But yeah, that's what I applied here. And finally, what is really important here, and I guess you might have discussed that with your guest speakers, Jamie. Good tool is just to use DISC. It's an assessment tool that allows to kind of grasp the personality of the person pretty fast. So you know that DISC stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and consciousness, right? And that's also a useful tool to interact with your team afterwards.
It's interesting. I've not heard of DISC, but that's a great tip for those thinking about some sort of methodology that they can apply. Do you remember one of the highlights from your research on Sherien? The first research you did in terms of like understanding Sherien a bit and her background. Do you remember any of that?
I know that she has a dog. This is what I remember. I know that Sherien likes literature, and I know that Sherien really misses her own country. Let it be like that.
Are all of those correct, Sherien? It's not a cat instead of a dog. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct.
What's the name of your dog?
Milo.
Milo. What breed is he?
It's she's an American Stafford
Nice.
mixed with pit bull. She's actually really nice. People think she's scary, but she's just one big diva.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception that Staffies and pit bulls are not nice. It's how they're brought up, isn't it, in terms of their personality and stuff. So, well, there you go. At least he's remembered some of it correctly, which is a good sign. One of the other things we spoke about, like you've started to build those initial connections and rapport, but then ongoing there has to be some sort of synergy, consistent synergy between the team, and I guess like collaboration, idea sharing, collective focus on achieving KPIs. What sort of stuff do you do for that, like collaboration or idea sharing? Like, what weekly meetings have you got? Like, what sort of stuff do you do to help improve that synergy?
Sherien, let you go first. I want to check how
Yeah. Me?
how you're familiar with all the stuff.
This is another one of those development opportunities, Sherien.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you got my point.
So I think for our team, we've got our weekly team meetings, of course, like the standard, but I'm going to highlight one thing. Like one nice thing about our team is we're always open to help each other. Like I've got one team member, like we do not start our day before having our like 15-minute coffee talk early in the morning before everybody joins. It's our 15 minutes of supporting each other, communicating with each other. And that we started on the same day, and since the first day we started up until now, we speak to each other every day for 15 minutes. And what it does for me is that we really support each other, we listen to each other, we help each other out. She just got back from PTO this morning. I spoke to her, I told her I missed you so much, but not only with that colleague, it's also with the rest. And I think what art also does, if we look at the more professional, serious stuff, to build that rapport, that collaboration, one thing I like about art's leadership is because he knows what our like best qualities are or where our strengths lie and our weaknesses. He really pushes us. Like if there's like a special project and he knows Shireen is gonna be good at this, he asks me to work it as a side project to really develop my skills. And he does that equally to everybody else on the team. And then so that way everybody gets to improve their skills, get acquainted with like different people in the company, just so network, but as well like build that confidence that no, you are competent, you know how to do this, you've got these skills, you've got these are your strengths, and work on it, develop them to take you to that next level. So that's one of the things that I would highlight that he does, which I really appreciate.
Is that what you thought she was going to say, Art?
Exactly. Because we have a synergy, right? This is what we're discussing right now. I totally agree with everything that Sherien said. I would say the great example would be the following. I'm reminded of a quote from the movie Burnt. We do what we do.
Bradley Cooper, is it?
Bradley Cooper,
About
exactly.
he's a chef.
Yeah, exactly. Chef Adam Jones. You're right. And I really like the quote there. We do what we do, and we do it together. And the reason why I recall that is the following. So the sales environment, as you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, Jamie, is unpredictable, right? And it's always marked constantly with shifting market conditions involving customer preferences and changing competitive landscape. And that also requires certain strategic changes to be applied. And our team as a whole, is able to adapt to these changes, and we can act fast enough to not to be reactive, but to be proactive. And of course, we plan that in ahead. And I think we cover that later, I guess so, throughout the conversation today. But this is exactly what I deliver with the certain steps. As Sherien mentioned, we have weekly calls. We discuss all the deals. We discuss all the projects that we have. We also have a opportunity for everyone to ask certain questions to a director on a weekly basis, sales director of our global account team. And that gives a certain sense of openness, right? And at the same time, readiness to move further despite all the changes that we have. And as a result, again, we adapt quickly and we deliver really great results out of that. I'm not taking into consideration the standard metrics that I think everyone knows is just number of calls, pipeline generation. I think it's a foundation, right? It's a base that I'm absolutely sure everyone takes into consideration. But I'm just speaking more about the kind of people-oriented approach that really fosters sales and fosters the internal environment that we have at the moment.
You went on mute, Jamie.
I think Jamie liked what that was awesome.
Yeah, that's standard. No, because we're in the office, I thought I'd better mute it. But yeah, good one. A podcast host that's on mute. But no, and that's very much a top-down approach of it's lead by example from the C-suite down to the heads of down to the team. And we're actually going to be starting the daily stand-up sort of coffee stand-up things as well. As of September is something that because some of the individual departments do it, so the product team do it, the sales team always do it. But we're a fairly sort of small team, so we're actually going to start doing it as one big team, and everyone can just talk and share and ask for any help and stuff. So I think that's going to be a good one for us as well. But as long as your other colleagues don't feel left out, that you have so much love for the particular colleague you're talking about.
Oh no, they know they're okay.
They know that they're in second place.
Yes.
Okay.
But
well, at least you're open and honest, which shows how much team synergy there is.
Yeah, but my heart is very big. Everybody, like, there's love for everybody, right?
You
don't agree?
Yeah, the reason why I said that is just one of the words that Sherien mentioned. Love is just one of our core values that we use, right? And we apply that on a daily basis. So that's why there is so much love on today's call, on today's podcast.
I thought that was your response. There was like, oh, there she goes again, talking about that big heart and all that love she's got to give.
I'm always willing to hear that because that's the way how she energizes everyone on the team.
And I think Sherien, I interrupted you. It looked like you were going to say something.
No. When I didn't really want to say. I wanted to like add a comment to what Art said with his quotes. So one of the great aspects of art, he is great when it comes to coming up with slogans. Can I say my favorite?
Do it.
So
Go on.
one
Of
of the
course.
things that I apply is the mission, vision, commission. So every time like I need a push to work on my pipeline or make sure that I'm closing my business, he makes sure to remind me, Sherien, mission, vision, commission. I'm like, okay, got you. I know what you want. I'll go for it. And
Nice.
another
I
thing,
like that.
yeah, he's great at these slogans. One time I need to go copyright them and start
They're
like a
probably from ChatGPT.
no,
No, actually, they were
no,
invented with these words. I came up with those words prior to the date when ChatGPT was
yes,
released. So.
Like he's print screened it with the date and everything to prove it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I should
No,
have done that.
if you like the film Burn, have you watched Bear on Disney or FX?
I think no.
So
I didn't.
check out. It's a series called Bear, which is a 10-part series. There's two series. The second one's just come out, which is very very similar in its style to Burn, about a world class chef that takes over his brother's restaurant. His brother committed suicide, and he left him the restaurant, and it's falling apart, and he takes over this restaurant. So definitely check that. If you like Burn, you'll love this series. So yeah, definitely check that out. The next thing I got on my list, like a big portion, a big chunk of any team, I guess, is trust. So we spoke about on the kickoff, like allowing your team freedom to operate in their own way and their own style, and then also trusting those individuals to work like autonomously. So do you want to just speak about that freedom of operation and trust, and how you've kind of cultivated that ethos in the team?
Yeah, I can say a couple of words here, but in general, it's quite simple here. So I personally have no. Is the way how I uh, perceive freedom is the following. I'm not a huge fan of micromanagement, right? Because, well, according to lots of researchers and statistics, it, micromanagement applies simply that you don't trust your team, right? Enough to do so that they do the right thing. And this is just answering one of your questions, how I cultivate that. So no micromanagement. Of course, we do stand-up meetings and we check up the results, the progress, but it's not the fact that, for instance, after let's just say after this podcast, I will ping Shirin and ask, okay, what is the progress right now? No, it's not the way how I deal with things. So again, I just value freedom and trust, and I just instill it within my team. And the way again how I do it is just I act as a role model, right? They see how I think, they see how I try to solve certain issues. Just for example, when simple example with the customers, right? Something didn't work, right? Or the customer was irresponsive. Uh, just the way I suggested to use a completely different means of communicating with the customer, and then it worked out, right? This is just one quick example. My main approach is just not to get blocked by certain uh, um, obstacles. Just find the other way how to find the solution, right? Just think different. I know that I used a common word, common quote. I mean, but yeah, that's the only way how I deliver that to my team.
No, the think differently one's good. If you've watched Suits before, there's a character called Harvey Specter, and he said that when someone's got a gun pointed in your face, there's not only two options of you're either shot or you're not. There's hundreds of ways that you can disarm that person, and it speaks to the same thing of just thinking differently, thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
How about you? How
absolutely.
about you, Sherien?
like I think the open communication and the fact that if I were to need anything, I know I can always depend on my manager. Like he's there to support me. He won't resolve everything, but he will guide me in the right direction to get things resolved. If I need this support or his input, he will make time. Sometimes he works too long or too much, and then it's like I don't want to like bug him at 8 p.m. But if I have to, he's there and he will support us. And that's like it goes back to the open communication. Like I'm not afraid to go to my manager and let's say get feedback or give feedback because there's the trust, there's that relationship that if you were to give me feedback, I know it's coming from a good place. The same goes if I need to deal with something and I come to him, he's there to support me. And he does that with the rest of the team as well. It's um his door is always open to support us. No issue is too small, no issue is too big. And knowing that fear of do I go talk to my manager, do I not, is already eliminated because we can just go straight to our manager, our leader, and he's there to support us. You don't have to second guess yourself or read an email 3 4 times before you send it over to your manager thinking like, is it good, is this not good? Like that fear that maybe we had in other companies, I don't have it here with my manager. I know he's laughing, although I still read my emails 3 4 times, and if I need support he's there, but I'm not fearful or scared to send that email or
Yeah, and
make it.
that's one of the worst. That's one of the worst things about micromanagement, and because what micromanagement can actually
Yeah,
end up doing is making you less confident, which means you need more support from your manager, which means you end the micromanagement circle, just vicious circle, just keeps spinning because you don't trust yourself, and if you don't trust yourself, then you start to maybe make a few mistakes because you're not trusting yourself, you're not confident, and then that makes it's a two-way street.
yeah, love that.
Yeah, the reason why I was laughing just to make a joke. You send the email and then you ask, "Is it good?"
So you've got over the hurdle of asking before it's sent, but you're still asking after it's sent
Yes,
when it's too late.
but they end up being good. But also, like,
Uh,
he celebrates the small wins, Small example, something that happened yesterday. So I am no Excel genius, but I'm okay. But Art, he's really good at Excel. So a few weeks ago, he helped me with the VLOOKUP. Yesterday, I did it myself and I felt so proud. And I actually couldn't wait to tell him, Art, guess what? I pulled the data, I created the VLOOKUP, I did it by myself. And that made me feel comfortable, but it made him, I'm speaking for him. I don't know. How did it make you feel? Like such a small win. But I made me feel good. Like I got his support.
he's sitting there shrugging it off like, meh, it's only a
Yeah.
VLOOKUP. Come on.
Yeah.
No, it's not about that. I just wanted to point one important thing that there was a tricky moment with the data that Sherien was dealing with, and that required a little bit different approach. So that's totally fine. The question that she raised, because again, when you take data from different sources, it can be really difficult, especially with Excel, right? I know that Excel is everything, even though there was lots of jokes regarding the fact that companies might have a CRMs, but still Excel is the best tool to use, right? And yeah, sometimes you need just to collect data from different sources, and formulas can be really, really challenging that in these cases. So for me, that was okay. And again, from the coaching perspective, and again, coming back to the topic that I mentioned earlier, it's regarding set up the right expectations. Sherien read me accurately in the fact that she tried herself with resolving completely different tasks. And the reason behind that was the following. I mean, I can show that multiple times, but the more experience you get when you have, I don't want to sound as using buzzwords, but okay, when you have challenges, you get more experience and expertise while walking through something difficult, right? And this is the way how to memorize certain things and have a practical hands-on experience. I would say it like that. So I only cherish the way how Sherien decided to, again, think outside the box. That's also what we discussed today. And yeah, even though it might sound as a lookup, again, sometimes it can be really, really challenging.
Yeah, no. The first time that I managed to nail a VLOOKUP, I was ecstatic as well. I learned how to do that in my last job. But I feel like there's lots of TV quotes or movie quotes in this episode. But there's a Grey's Anatomy. There's a quote in there that one of the doctors said. It's see one, do one, teach one. So you see it being done, you try it yourself, and then you teach it to someone else. And I think it's a great thing that I've always tried to sort of stick by. At some point you're going to have to just try it yourself, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, so I think that's another good one. But you spoke about like challenges, right? Challenging your team to get out of their comfort zone or think differently. So in terms of encouraging those challenges, is there ways that do you have like a formulaic way of like, right, this week's challenge is this week's challenge is to try that or improve that? Do you have like a way of encouraging those challenges?
That's a good question. Actually, I recall a funny quote. Me, I'm actually happy and positive now. Life, lol, 1 second, right? I'm not a huge fan of just, coming up with a certain ideas. Okay, this week is gonna bucket challenge. Let it be like that. I know buzzword again, but still, it's just to give the idea. I'm not a huge fan of that. What really I'm encouraging team is just, well, it's my viewpoint actually, but I just ask them to acquire new knowledge by passing technical exams, for instance. Though I know that their main role is just to work on the front line and deal with customers, but still, we're not selling. There's nothing wrong about selling magazines. Don't get me wrong, but we're selling technologies and we're dealing with tech savvy people, and it's always good to speak both with the business people and with the technical person the same language, and just achieving like basic foundational certification on certain technologies. This is something that I consider a positive challenge here, because that will, why I say positive, because that will bring them more uh, return on investment afterwards, and challenge because some people might not have a technical education, which is totally fine, and this is the great moment right now, a digital era, to familiarize themselves with new technologies, with the basic certification that can explain everything um, really in detailed way, and really easy to grasp everything that they can get throughout that certification. So this is what I always mention, but again, I'm not pushing them a lot. I just mentioned that after the one-on-ones, right, Sherien? I mentioned that on the team weekly calls. Just again, I don't want to sound intrusive, but I just do it naturally.
No, I was speaking to Jen from Lavender on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she said that too many sales reps focus on the product or the solution that they offer rather than being experts in the problem. And obviously, part of being an expert in the problem is speaking the same language as your prospects. So I think, yeah, I can definitely see the value in having, especially in cloud data and stuff, having that like technical expertise or prowess in terms of the interaction. And then Sherien, in terms of those like challenges, how do you look to challenge yourself as an individual contributor?
I don't even know how to answer that question. No, maybe not. How I challenge myself is I just keep reminding myself to stay positive and embrace the change or the challenge. Like, do not let it affect me. Like, it's always a challenge. Like, don't let it affect you. Work on it. Like, something changed, find a new way to deal with it. Work on it. Having trouble with this, keep your motivation up. Like, really, keep challenging myself. Like, also getting out of my comfort zone. Um, and I'm going to okay, so I don't know if Art knows this, but so I do listen to the calls that I had with customers to really listen to myself, although I do not like listening to myself. However, I am trying to listen to my calls to see where did I go wrong, what could I have done better, to analyze myself and give myself feedback in order to challenge myself in the next call and the calls after that and after that. And this was my secret. Now everybody's gonna know that, but I actually do that to learn from myself. The same goes with like learning new things, not giving up, keep going, ask questions, keep that positivity. I think that's really what I try to do, because if we cannot smile if we're working, then what are we doing? If we cannot keep humor and laughter and remember that we're one team, then why? Like, we're all humans, we have emotions. Embrace that, learn from each other, let's synergize, work together, and just keep that going.
Yeah, and then like the challenge doesn't always have to be a technical certification, or it doesn't have to be a new language you've learned, or a new process. It can just be learning how to deal with a situation in a more effective way, or like you said, to remind yourself to stay smiling and stay laughing. And that's definitely something we can say from the event, is you were one of the happiest, loudest, bubbly, most bubbly people at the event, which is good for that sort of event, because they can be quite monotonous and dull. And you were definitely you had the biggest smile on your face, other than when you were told you had to film the clip by your manager. There was a slight trepidation. One of the things I remember from our kickoff was this whole coaching versus managing theory, like ethos, and it was talking about it being similar to a football coach. So, do you just want to explain what you meant by that in terms of that, like, ethos?
Yes, we can. And actually, Sherien, I might need your help, because I would like you to tell you that story, so that would be a really good example of that coaching and managing experience that you had. So I think the first we need to start with just kind of the way how I understand differentiate coaching from managing. My take, coaching, it's more about like fostering skill development, behavior change, and personal growth, whereas managing is just to ensure that the tasks are completed, everything is efficient, and that we hit our numbers, or we achieve the target. And as an example here, I would like to use the case that Sherien mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, specifically the webinar, right, that Sherien launched. And the pre-story, it was more like a coaching story. That was the time when I first stepped into the role, and I was asking questions like what was Sherien's objective, what she would like to achieve, why is that important, and in a nutshell, she said what she said, right? She wants to lead the webinar. She wants to have an impact, global impact on something, and she wants to be responsible for an initiative, because that is also the opportunity for her to act as a leader. And again, take into account the way how she communicates, not only with customers, the way how she communicates with customers, she communicates exactly the same way with our internal employees, I mean. And that allowed her to build really successful design a really successful webinar. We had over 50 attendees. That was a webinar related to a specific product. But the way how she organized everything, again, it was also like a coaching part. She designed the table, everything was outlined. We had a couple of dry runs. She also developed the landing page. She also checked that everyone attended the call, right? So she did her best in that case. And then, she delivered this result. That was the first webinar, more like a product-focused webinar we had with a large audience, with the customers specifically interested in a specific product that we were launching. And that was in terms of coaching, that's what I did in the beginning, right? And that's what we had as a result. And in terms of management, it's just more like checking that we got the leads, that the deals are progressing. Nobody is forgotten, and we didn't forget. We haven't forgotten to mention, so that everyone got all the recognition for that project. This is long story short. Sherien, would you like to add something? Did I miss anything?
No, but that was really, yeah, that was spot on. Yes. It was very nerve-wracking, like working on such a project. But like Art was just there every step of the way, just to like make sure that they, not per se that I'm on track, but I've got everything that I need to progress forward, or if I need any support, like you mentioned. So that was, for me, that was a great project that I was able to complete. Like I felt I learned so much in those 3 months, even though it's like a very small project. But like, yeah, you learn so much. And sometimes like I'm surprised when like, wow, like I did that, or I learned that, or I got the opportunity to work with this person or with that person, or meet this customer or that customer. You just Like every day is just such a different day and such a new learning experience. And then if you've got like team or a manager or leader, manager, coach that actually helps you or pushes you outside of your comfort zone or like pushes you to try new things,
Your
like
stress
be
is
a
so hard,
mentor.
pushes you. You said, Sherien, pushes you. Is that the way how you perceive me?
No, but like, you're very persistent, which is great because I need that sometimes for somebody to tell me, like, you can do it. You got to believe in yourself. You can do it. And like, it's crazy how much you learn, like, about yourself and others, no matter what project you're taking on. So for me, like, I cherish that.
There you go. But how many times did you say the word push?
I don't know. I have to listen to the recording
I
again.
said zero times I said it, so I never said use the word push.
No, but like, I mean, he pushes you, like, he pushes you in the direction of learning new things. That's what I meant.
Yeah. He gently guides you rather than
Guys,
Okay.
pushes. Yeah.
let's use
Like
these words.
a shepherd guides
Yeah.
sheep, rather than a military general pushes. Yeah, yeah. In terms of team building activities, that's another big thing in sales, right? Like every team's got their own quarterly drinks, weekly thirsty Thursdays, whatever you want to call it. What do you guys do for your like team building activities?
So from our end, well, unfortunately, well, even I would say it like that. Despite the fact that we're working remotely, first of all, we, our management and I as well, we put lots of efforts into maintaining team spirit and keeping them on a high mode. Let's call it like that. So our global executives, global team, we have a quarterly calls which are led by our management and where team members are recognized for their contributions to interesting projects. So this is the first way how we do that. Second, on a weekly call, we also have on a weekly basis. Sorry, we have weekly calls where we discuss different initiatives, different thoughts. Moreover, when there is a great opportunity for everyone to join together in Amsterdam, of course, I ask for budget, right, and so that we can spend more time together because people buy from people, right, and this is the best way how to build relationships when you speak in person, right, rather than speaking over the phone or over the WebEx, over the conferencing. Sorry, and finally, it's it's just calls that we have to discuss different opinions, different thoughts. This is how we do it. We want to launch happy hour. I'm just thinking how to organize it properly because we want also other team members from not only from EMEA but from other teams to join us. However, I just thought, okay, if in our case it's going to be evening, but for instance for US team it's going to be morning. Well, it's always good to start the morning with your day with the champagne.
Yeah, not all of us can afford it.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they're gonna be not pushbacks, but some questions. Let it be like that.
Personally, for me, I start every single day with a bowl of cereal, but instead of milk, I use champagne. Funnily enough, and that's how I just like to start my day. But each to their own.
Yeah, and the
So
questions would
this
be
is
the
good,
following:
James.
why sales increased so drastically after we implemented happy hour, right? Especially in the US team.
Dutch
So
courage. They the Dutch courage, isn't it?
exactly. So yeah, this is how um, we and I specifically nurturing the team spirit.
What's when you guys meet in person, however frequent or infrequent that is, what do you tend to do when you meet in person? Do you just go for food and drinks, or do you do like a team building treasure hunt? Like what do you do when you meet up?
I think we did one activity, or maybe that was last year. But typically, yeah. But okay, let it be this way. Again, this is something that we're working at the moment, and the idea is just to make it more active one, right? So, for instance, next month there's going to be a management who's going to come to executive management who's going to come to Amsterdam, right? And we're going to have a huge and big let it be like discussion and meeting with our team, with our executives, right? This is one of the ideas that we came up with, and everybody supported that.
Sherien, are there any sort of highlights for you in terms of bits that you think are good for the team building?
Yes. No, I don't think it's. I just want to add one thing. People might think it's lame, but I don't care. So one thing that I started when I joined the team is like I'm good with birthdays, and I believe everybody deserves to be celebrated on their day or just recognized in one way or another. And so I try to send birthday cards to everybody on their birthday. And I will send like a group message to everybody that needs to sign the card. Like, if you want to sign the card, can you send me some, like, a few words that I can put on the card? I do that just because people would feel in one way or another like it could or will bring a smile to their faces. And we're part of the team, and everybody deserves to be celebrated. So why not like shine some light on birthdays or special occasions when somebody gets engaged or has a baby?
It's a very good idea, because we started doing something a bit more formalized, or at least there's two of us who are looking after it now. And this, I'm not going to flip it around and show the name, but this one I'm going to post out after work today for a date next week, and it's got a little something in there for one of our colleagues as well. So as much as in my personal life, I think a birthday card for me, I'm like, I'm getting old now, don't get me a birthday card. But I think for others, it's quite nice, isn't it?
If it's
For you, it would be nice, Jamie.
Jamie, if it's NFT, then would you say, okay, yeah, I like that?
If it's an activity, did you say?
No, NFT.
NFT,
Yeah.
and as in digital art.
Non-fungible token.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I'd be open to that. Yeah,
Okay, that's
you're talking my language. What I interrupted you with the card sharing. What other bits are you a fan of?
No, I just keep like team meetings light, laugh. It's okay. So sometimes, yeah, it's just okay. Sometimes I hear the feedback saying, "Stop laughing," but I'm just enjoying and I'm just celebrating, and yeah. So no, but and just keep open communication, jokes, humor is really
So
important.
he pushes you a lot, and he tells you to stop laughing. This is taking a turn. This is taking a negative turn. This is.
We agree that it's going to be gently guidance.
Yeah.
Gentle guidance.
No, right, yeah. No, I like to laugh, and sometimes I try to be positive, but it's okay.
No, there's definite science behind laughing, releasing endorphins. I think it is, isn't it? And it helps keep people happy and make people happier. So laughter's good. Laughter is good. Okay, so this is a question for both you to sort of finish off then.
Yeah.
Top 3 tips, your 3 tips you would give to someone in your role. So obviously heading up the team, and Sherien being an individual contributor, for improving team relationships. We'll start with Sherien. Ladies first.
So in my role working remote, you can talk to your colleagues and your teammates about other non-work stuff, build that relationship, have that virtual cup of coffee, take your mind off of things work related, because that 5-minute break while talking to a colleague will give you so much energy and you'll be so much more productive. So that's 1. 2, keep an open communication line with your manager and communicate the things that you need, or like what will help you and what won't help you, because that will improve the relationship you'll have with your manager, because then they will know that it's better to communicate to Sherien this way or instead of that way. Like, be open. And 3, keep working on yourself and keep pushing and always smile, because after every rain there's always sunshine somewhere, right? There's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always you can always go down. There are going to be ups and downs, and just keep the eye on the prize. Mission, vision, commission. Like, remember to keep living. So that's it for me.
The mission vision commission is going to make a really good clip for LinkedIn. So I think that's a good clip. How about you, Arts? Top 3 tips.
There are actually 3, honestly, that I think the most important ones. Of course, there are many, but the most important ones are the following. So first of all, set up the right expectations with your team. Second, it's to be predictable for the team and for everyone who the person is going to work with, who a sales manager is going to work with and interact. And finally, it's definitely individualize your team within the organization, within the company that you employ.
One final question for you both. We've been doing this thing called Podcast and Nominate, which is basically you give me really good podcast guests to save me a job. So who do you think I need to get on the podcast and why? We don't have to do, if you want to let me know after the call, if you need some time to think about it. But is there anyone who you think would be really good to come on a podcast to share stories or tips for sales?
Got a few. I'll send you a message on LinkedIn, Jamie.
Cool.
The same. Let us think on that topic. I have a couple of interesting people.
Amazing. Well, that sounds like there could be 3 or 4 episodes that are in my diary after that, which is good. Well, look, guys, I appreciate you taking the time, and we got about 4 or 5 minutes until a hard stop for the next meeting. I'm sure you guys have got another demo or something to get to. So I appreciate you jumping on and talking about the sort of team relationships in sales, and hopefully it wasn't as daunting as you perhaps thought it was going to be.
Thanks a lot, Jamie.
That was great, Jamie.
Brilliant. And if you are listening, please don't forget to hit the follow button. And if you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Have a lovely afternoon.